This episode is proudly supported by Anchor Food Professionals, makers of mainland cheese. Here's Andy Sy from the Notting Hill Hotel.
We've been using them for a few years now, using their tasty and mozzarella cheese. We go through about 135 kilos a week at the moment. So a huge number. So we use it for our garlic bread, our pizzas, our parmas, our bechamel, our cheese sauce for our croquettes and arancini, throughout our lasagnas, anywhere we can really. It's such a good product. You know, having the freshest chips to your fresh chicken to a freshly crumbed schnitzel and topping up with a really high quality cheese is amazing.
For more information, go to anchorfoodprofessionals.com.
I miss those daily interactions. I think that for me, they're very important. They're little wins every day to have interaction with the customer, you know, to have something, you know, positive happen that can be so small and so minimal that, you know, it really makes you kind of, you know, it makes those hard days a little bit more bearable.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Today's guest made a name for himself running multiple award-winning cafes over more than a decade, but a few years back he sold up and got out of the game. Well, he's been lured back and has opened a new cafe in Sydney's north. Anthony Svilicich is the co-owner of Dandy in Allambie Heights, Sydney. Anthony, how are you?
I'm well, mate. How are you going?
I'm good. It's good to get you back on the show. I can't believe that you've got back in the industry. How did it happen?
Some days I don't know how it happened either. Look, I guess it's just in a nutshell, probably my love for the industry. It's been my career for such a long time now. And even though you say that I think I left the industry, I don't think I did. I might have left it physically, but definitely not in my heart. So I think, you know, coming back has been probably a goal for a while, and I think it was always inevitable. Fortunately, it's just like a sickness that keeps on coming back. So I think that's the big reason is just the love for the industry.
Tell us a little bit about Dandy. You've chosen Allambie Heights, which is in the north of Sydney. It's a long way from the other venues that you've had, which we'll go into in a little bit. But why did you select there?
So we were looking for a site for a while with my two co-owners, and I did live on the northern beaches for a fair amount of time. It's actually quite funny. I think I was living in Manly when I owned my shops in Surrey Hills. Now I'm living on that side, on the inner west side, but own my shops on the northern beaches. So it was a site that I'd known of for a very long time. It was one that I always thought was a good spot. And in our search for a shop, this site came up. I love the community aspect of it. So it is a little bit of a village kind of atmosphere. Very small local community, which has always kind of attracted me beyond Surrey Hills and moving to Ashfield, which was a neighbourhood community. So that was a big part of the attraction, I think, for me. And then also, you know, one of the co-owners, Brooke, also lives on the northern beaches and knew of it well. So, I think that's the part of the reason for choosing that spot to start our kind of project.
Is it a challenge finding a location for a cafe these days? It's such a big part of our culture, and, you know, you've been sort of all over the inner west in a way, but, you know, do you have to be really mindful because there are so many cafes these days?
Yeah, I think location is difficult. It's definitely something you do need to be mindful of. I think also part of it is the fact that there is a lot out there. There is definitely a lot out there. And to be honest, initially we were looking for a lot of not vacant sites, but sites to start from scratch. But the building costs now compared to, you know, setting up 12 to 15 years ago has exponentially tripled. So I think the draw of finding something that was already existing and then putting our touch on it and making it ours was a more financially viable prospect to start the process and enter into. And then location-wise, it's really about, I think, being able to adapt to what the market needs now and what the market is and what it wants. And location plays a big part of that in the sense that it is a very changed, I think, cafe game now, cafe scene. It's focused on a lot more, I think, of the grab-and-go element, the quicker kind of vibe rather than the I think more so rather than the cafes that were being built, like the ones that built 10 years ago, where fit outs were big, brunches were big and long. People were willing to go out and spend their time and money on those kind of things. I feel like, that has changed a lot over the last 10 years, and that's not so much part of that hospitality market now, or the side that I'm involved in currently anyway, the cafe side.
You created some award-winning cafes, Le Monde, Excelsior Jones, and you ran Neighbourhood before jumping out of the game. What's it been like coming back in for you and, dedicating your hours and getting that life balance? Is it different to, when you had those cafes?
Yeah, yes, I do. I think it's different in the sense that, look, the setup is always dedicating your time and your hours to it. I think now owners working in cafes is simply a necessary part of the business for multiple reasons. I think one for financial reasons and also for staffing reasons as well. And being able to find staff is definitely much more difficult. So being out of the game, I was still in it, still working for a coffee roaster. I was fortunate enough to be offered by a position by Five Senses, the coffee roasters that I still currently use and have for a very long time. So I got to see another side of the industry from the other end, going from, being the retailer, the cafe, to being the supplier for multiple years and then now going back. So the transition has been interesting. It's been fun. It's been hard, definitely at my age. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so being up on your feet all day and being in this position is definitely a little bit harder. And it's been an interesting journey just learning the difference in the market, kind of knowing that there was a difference and now seeing it firsthand has been very interesting to see that transition after COVID to where we're at now. I think one of the big things that has been very, very eye-opening for me is that I always had cafes that were table service and service focused, and trying to bring that back has been an interesting process. I think after COVID, people forgot how to relax a little bit in a cafe. I think we lost that art of table service, and, we sold it to QR codes and order at the counter. So I think offering table service has been real eye-opening for me, in the sense that, there is obviously an element of the community that want it, but, there's also that element that just can't get used to the fact that table service anymore. So, yeah, which has been interesting.
Take us back to, when the early days with Le Monde, which is you ended up winning Cafe of the Year in Sydney for that with a Good Food Guide. But, when you first sort of opened Le Monde and started to change what cafes were offering, how different were you then compared to now running a cafe?
I think back then, the intensity was much higher. I feel the need to always evolve and change in a way that, was probably above and beyond expectations of people, in creating things like breakfast degustations and, crazy things like that we did, which was so much fun. But I think, now it's more about simplicity. It's just simplicity and doing something well, and being able to adapt to a market and giving them what they need, without pushing those boundaries. I don't think that's necessary anymore in my opinion. It's about being simple, having your ethos and your focus about what you want to give to somebody. However, you need to change and adapt in a way that, adapt to the market, because it is a market that is, obviously saturated. It's a market that is difficult at the moment with the cost of living standards, where they're spending their money and how they're choosing to spend their money. So it's a matter of adapting what you really love and what you want to do, but being able to give the customer something they want that doesn't compromise your standards, but, also works with them. In a way, it comes back to that whole cafe community thing of being able to, give someone what they want, but also still be able to do what you want, which is a real fine balancing act. When you're trying to balance everything else involved in the hospitality industry at the moment.
It's interesting. You talk about breakfast degustations and how many boundaries you guys pushed with your early venues. But tell us about the food offering. Has it changed since you first opened? Like how did you drill down on what was going to work there?
Well, we're still kind of drilling down on it. It's a constant work in progress, of being able to offer some things that are a little bit kind of, different and our take on things, but also trying to, offer what, is needed in the area that we're in. So, look, there's a big focus on sandwiches for lunch. Sandwiches is one of those things now that is, it's very familiar. It's very easy. It's an item that you're able to, put your own spin on things to do really well. So big kind of expanding takeaway market and passing trade of kind of where we're situated. These things are important. In being able to offer those things that the market there needs. So the food offering is heavily sandwich based for lunch, with some standard kind of breakfast items that have our own little spin on them. So again, not being overly complicated, just being simple and approachable, but doing it well. I'm still of the opinion, and I was 15 years ago, if you can do a ham, cheese and tomato toasty with great ham and a quality cheese and bread, like you're winning. So, and I think that's that's really something that people are wanting to an extent, but it also is a little bit more about the experience. I think now, I think the experience is important. And when I say experience, I think it's that experience in the sense of what people see as value for money. So it's like I still feel that the industry is thriving in a lot of ways and people still are spending their money, but where they choose to spend their money is, what's become much more relevant. So, where I think there's a sector of the market that may want to visit a cafe, 5 days a week and spend their money there in buying coffee and still their avocado on toast and those kind of things. There's an element of the market that is like, well, no, like I can make that at home. Why do I want to go out and spend that money? That's not really an experience for me. I would rather save my money and use that as a restaurant experience later. So I think being able to adapt and offer, new kind of beverages with things like, specialty drinks and, sandwiches and food that maybe you can't always make at home is where it kind of lies. But, obviously it still needs to be a profitable business. So you need to keep that in mind as well in creating all of that.
You're known as one of the gurus of coffee in Sydney over a long period of time. And as you mentioned, you got out of the cafe game, but you were in the coffee game and now you're back in cafes. Have you seen coffee change much in Sydney sort of over your time to where we are now?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, look, with the industry changing in terms of pricing of coffee, coffee now, pushing towards the $6 and $7 mark for a cup of coffee. I think the change has become more specialty drinks now, which relates to that experience thing. I think it's been a hard kind of pill to swallow for a lot of people that, coffee has never really historically risen, but it's had a dramatic kind of increase in the last couple of years. So I think that's a hard thing for the public to kind of fathom. But, it's that line of going, well, I don't really want to pay $6 or $7 for a cup of coffee, but I'll pay $9 if you make it something special, which does come back to that experiencing. So I think, the change, has moved towards, being able to offer a few more different kind of specialty-based drinks, to an evolving market that can see more value in that. Even though it's spending a few extra dollars, the value to them is there to gain something that's a little bit more special than your flat white or espresso. So yeah, I think it's definitely changed in that way. But at the same time, there's still lots of people who love to drink their daily cup of coffee.
I loved what you said a bit earlier about that you never really left the industry. That it was you physically left, but you never mentally left. Like, what's the impact been on you getting back in the game and being in front of customers all the time? Has it been a real positive effect for you?
Oh, I love it. I'm not going to lie. I do love it. Look, I've worked for myself for a very long time and worked in hospitality for such a long time that, I think it took me trying something a little bit different in my life to kind of realize that no, hospitality was still where I wanted to be. Having a couple of award-winning cafes for such a long period was very grueling. And physically, mentally, all of those. So, some life changes led to kind of going, well, maybe I do need to try something different, but still stay within the industry. And look, it was still a positive experience. What I was doing, still being able to be involved in the coffee industry was great. Working, with a great bunch of people in a great company was also great. But I think I missed those daily interactions. I think that for me, they're very important. They're little wins every day to have interaction with the customer, to have something, positive happen that it can be so small and so minimal that, it really makes you kind of, it makes those hard days a little bit more bearable. And then, also doing this business, not on my own, but with a couple of, partners who I've worked with for a long time and known for a long time has also been, a great experience in that way of enjoying that and enjoying building something again and enjoying doing it with, people that I also love and respect in the industry.
Well, it's great to see you back in the game. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Sydney that are thrilled about it too. Can't wait to see where you take things from now. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Great. Love to. Great to chat, mate.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.